It was a high-dollar weekend in Huron. How's everybody doing? I'm Jay Elson, and this is Midco Motorsports. The Wissota Late Model Challenge Series kicked off its 2016 tour, which will also include stops in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa, with 3 races in 4 nights across eastern South Dakota. 2 of those took place at Dakota State Fair Speedway. Thursday's opener paid $5,000 to win, but the top prize was double that for Saturday's Challenge Cup 16. Folks literally lining up for this one. Beautiful night in Huron, but it got off to a scary start. Check out this wild wreck from one of the Midwest modified heat races. Dusty Seitz ends up on his nose. Take another look. Believe it or not, Seitz did manage to get his car back on the track for the B main, but that's where his night would end. Moving on to the feature now, Huron's own Adam Brotherton started on the outside of row 1, but he drives the 14 to the front right off the start, and he'd stay there for the duration. Brotherton dominates in front of the big crowd, winning for the 2nd time in as many races at his hometown track.
Anytime you can go to the track on a night like this with this big of a crowd, and I don't know, I think we had over 30 cars, so to come out and do that good on a night like this, it's pretty pleasing to me, I guess, that's for sure.
A total of 45 late models started the night on Saturday, but they whittled the field down to 25 for the night's main event. There was only one real contender, though, and it was this guy right here. Jason Crone picked up his first career challenge victory on Thursday, and the Sladen, Minnesota native was faster than everyone yet again. Like Brotherton, Crone goes wire to wire, back-to-back wins, netting him a combined $15,000.
Coming to new tracks is not new to me because all the traveling we've done, I think we've raced in 23 states. You cannot do it without a good race car. And with my limited experience, it's all the people behind me, the phone calls, the spending time in the shop. It does come down to work and the people you surround yourself with.
Fast forward to Sunday and the weekly show at Buffalo River Race Park in Glendon, Minnesota. Pick things up with 7 to go for the Pure Stocks. Pole setter Brandon Schmidt getting a challenge from Doug Gardner. The 41 makes the pass to complete the climb from 5th. Gardner goes on to capture his first win of the season. Good jump for Barnesville, Minnesota's Josh Jolsrud in the Legends feature. He pilots the 18 machine from 3rd to 1st. As they come out of turn 2. Jolsrud would get just one true test, and it came 1 lap later. Last week's winner, Troy Hoff, knocks on the door, but Jolsrud refuses to let him in. He cruises from there, securing his 2nd victory of 2016. A little sibling rivalry on display at the start of the IMCA Northern Sport Mods. Brother and sister lead the field to green. Ashley Merworth on the outside gets the edge on Brandon. And there was never any doubt. She pulls away from the field, goes on to beat the boys, and maybe more importantly, her brother for her first win in Glendon. Fans treated to some great stuff in the IMCA Modifieds. 4 laps in, Cody Peterson gets by Josh Bolu for the lead. 11 to go now. Here comes the pressure. Justin Jones makes the pass on Peterson, but the caution comes out, so Peterson keeps the lead. 3 laps later, same story. This time it's Michael Grayseth, but he too has his run wiped out due to yellow. Peterson, though, finally runs out of luck in the final lap, running neck and neck with Grayseth again, and this time the 17 gets him. Check out the finish. Tough to tell by that angle, but Grayseth, who started 11th, takes it by a mere 6/100ths of a second. Not a bad way to get your 2nd straight victory. Racing has returned to West Fargo. We'll talk to one of the men that helped reopen Red River Valley Speedway after this. Fargo, or more specifically West Fargo, hasn't been a factor on the local racing scene since 2012. But that is no longer the case. In this week's Inside Track, Midco SN's Greg Ankers sits down with one of the men responsible for the reemergence of Red River Valley Speedway.
After 4 years of silence in West Fargo, Red River Valley Speedway is roaring once again for the summer of 2016, in large part to the gentleman sitting next to me, Nick Skoleski, the chief operating officer out here. You're also the competition director, and you own and operate the Red River Kart Club, and you're adding the Red River Valley Speedway to your resume. Take me back, I guess, and tell me a little bit about just how this idea came to be after this track has been sitting 4 years dormant.
I talk to Brian Schultz every year for the last 6 years with the go-kart club. I got to renew the contract every year. So probably a year and a half ago, I asked him just kind of half jokingly what it would take to get the Speedway going again. And he said, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Well, kind of." I said, "I'd like to, look at it, see what it costs to rent it, stuff like that." And he said, "Okay, I'll go get you the copies of the contract and stuff and the payments and stuff." So he did, and I took that home and looked at it, and I'm like, "Nah, this isn't going to work, So when I come in to renew the go-kart contract, I asked him if I could negotiate the rent a little bit, and he said, "Yeah, I'll work with you." And he said, "What are you thinking?" I said, "Well, I want to do a smaller scale deal, like a legend cars. The slingshots have kind of gotten to be a big thing in the western state and the northern, and then maybe bring in mini sprints." And I wasn't concerned about the spectators per se, just giving the kids somewhere else to race, But then I started putting the math to it with the ambulance insurance, having the fire crew here. I just wasn't ever going to make a nickel, and I'd probably lose money every week. So then I kind of started thinking to myself, I got to come up with a different game plan here. And so then I ran into Jake Bitker one night in Glendon. I was on the four-wheeler, and I remember it to a T, and I stopped him, and I said, "What do you think about opening Red River Valley again?" And he just kind of chuckled, and he says, "You're nuts," and he said, "That ain't going to happen." And so then we parted ways, and then we just, and I only talked to him once in a while up in Ada previous to that over the years. And then about a month later, then he called me. He said, "Yeah, I think we should meet and come up with a game plan or see what your game plan is." So we met that first time for half an hour to an hour, and within 5 minutes we clicked right off the bat. We both kind of seen it the same way, and then met 3-4 times after that, to kind of put the numbers to it, what it was going to take, because he's really familiar with that part where I'm not with the go-kart track because it's a way smaller scale, but he knew what the equipment, what it was going to cost, what we're going to need, because you really can't share stuff from Ada to Fargo when you run back-to-back nights. It'd just be virtually impossible to haul that stuff here every week. So we put the numbers to it, and he's pretty accurate on all that. So it's been a very good transition, a lot of long hours, but we've had a lot of great help. So it's been pretty good to this date.
You mentioned Jake Bitker is your partner out here, and he also owns and operates the racetrack, Norman County Raceway in Ada, Minnesota. You guys have a 3-year lease agreement with the Red River Valley Fair Association out here, and it's no secret, you know the history of this track. Since around the 2000s came around, this track opened in 1972, but in recent years it's been difficult for people to operate this track. Why is this the right time, and why will this go-around be successful for you guys?
Well, the biggest thing people need to look back at is, I think it was 3 years ago, Kevin Nathy at the Buffalo River Race Park, he took on IMCA. And that was a pretty big stretch for him to do that at that time, and a lot of people thought he was probably crazy doing it, but it's actually probably saved that place. His car counts are up, he's got probably more people in the stands now. So as we've seen that grow, and now Jamestown has added IMCA mods. They haven't done the sport mods yet, and maybe that'll come in the next few years. Both Jake and I seen the writing on the wall. Now's the time to do it. Now you're going to get guys from out west will even travel here, and they've already been Facebooking us or emailing us, whatever, and they say they're coming. Why they're not going to necessarily race out there, we don't know, and we don't really ask that question, but if they choose to come here. But the other thing is, now being IMCA, you can run Thursday in Ada, you can come here Friday in Fargo. The A-mods can go to Jamestown on Saturday and then run Glendon on Sunday. So they can run 4 nights in a row. Same with the sport mods, but the sport mods would either have to go to Princeton or Brainerd to race on Saturday. And
you mentioned you've got the IMCAs here. Tell us about the other classes that you're going to have here. There's definitely going to be a lot of variety for the fans that are going to come out and pack the stands here this summer.
Yeah, what we're going to do, we're bringing in the INX Legend cars, and that's there's quite a few go-kart kids now that are involved in that deal, and that should be a 15 to 20 car field every Friday. We're bringing in the IMCA hobby stocks, which will be combined with the pure stocks, and then in 2017 it'll just be IMCA hobby stocks. And then the end of June, we're bringing in the late models. And then the middle of July, we're bringing in NOSA sprints with the late models during the fair race on a Sunday.
Well, that'll be certainly a lot of fun. And Nick, we thank you for taking the time to chat with us here on Midco Motorsports and wish you the best of luck this summer.
Yep, thank you.
And everybody can come out and check out the races for themselves. 7 o'clock Friday nights at Red River Valley Speedway in West Fargo.
All right, thanks, Greg. Well, there are 13 events on Red River Valley Speedway's 2016 schedule, though they did lose one of those on Friday due to rain. One of the biggest nights of the season, which you just heard a little about, will feature the NOSA Sprints and the NLRA Late Models. That event slated for Sunday, July 17th. Well, a week after hitting the century mark, Terry McCarl was looking to make it 2 in a row at Badlands Motor Speedway. Find out how T-Mac fared when we come back. What's in a name? Seems like a fair question, especially for a guy like Terry McCarl. For the most part, a track is what a track is, and T-Mac's early results at Badlands Motor Speedway appear to support that. Houston's all-time winningest driver finished second and first respectively in the first two 410 features at the newly rebranded facility, with last week's victory giving him an even 100 for his career. The driver of the 24 car hoped to continue that early season surge on Saturday night, but he had other concerns early on, and here it is. His son Austin takes a nasty spill at his heat race. McCarl was okay. He'd make it back for the B main, but was unable to qualify for the A. More trouble off the restart. Trent Stangl tangles with Ben Schmidt in turn one. That sends the 73 up into the catch fence. Schmidt able to walk away as well, but after that, they got out the grader to try and smooth things out. Skip ahead to the features in the IMCA Race Saver Sprints. Matt Zebarth coming off a rough 2015 season, but he and the rest of that 3Z team finally got to see all those hours in the shop pay off. Zebarth takes an early lead and never looks back as he cruises to his first career win in Brandon.
Everything was working tonight. The car was perfect. I can't even describe it, man. I'm still kind of in shock, still kind of shaky. This is a great feeling.
One guy who's never been a stranger to victory lane is Darren Cordles. He had his late model street stock there last week, and he'd find his way back yet again. Cordles owned the one spot at the start, and he was never seriously challenged. The pride of Rock Rapids, Iowa makes it back-to-back victories at BMS.
The starting spot really helped. Started up towards the front, which I usually don't draw very well. That helped a lot. The track was real good in 3 and 4, but 1 and 2 was really narrow and rough, so I kind of benefited from being out front, that's for sure.
Cordles has been at or near the front in all 3 features to start the season, and that's helped him build a healthy lead. Craig Hanisch is the only guy who's managed to beat the 11K thus far, but even he is already 120 points off the pace. The Outlaws were next, and the theme from earlier in the night continued at the start of the feature. Matt Jewell and Chuck McGilvery get the worst of it this time. Jewell would bow out while McGilvery battled back to finish 13th. Paul Neinheiser seized control when they got back to green. He'd keep his 9X out front for the first 9 laps, but Dusty Zomer would take over from there. The 82 stays there the rest of the way, Zomer becoming the 3rd different driver to win a 410 feature at Badlands this season.
And I just knew I had to not mess up, and obviously I knew I'd probably catch the traffic again, but just make smart moves, smart decisions, and we were fortunate enough to get the W tonight.
The points race in that 410 class is shaping up to be a good one. Mark Dobmeyer finished 3rd Saturday and has now narrowed the gap between him and Terry McCarl to just 4 points. Zomer, by the way, currently stands 6th. The action was even more intense in Sunday's MSTS 360 feature. Picking up with 3 to go, race leader Aaron Reitzel makes contact with a back marker, and it slows him just enough for Tim Kading to scoot into the lead. Reitzel not ready to concede. Just after they hit the white flag, things get downright physical. Reitzel forces his way back in front between 1 and 2, but back comes Kading. He counters in turns 3 and 4, then beats Reitzel to the line. What a finish. Kading's thrilling victory is his 2nd in the 360 class this season, and it's given him a little extra cushion in the standings. He's now nearly 100 points clear of Justin Henderson. Let's head south to Knoxville. Pick it up on lap 8 of Saturday's 360 feature as Jamie Ball takes over the top spot from pole setter Matt Covington. Ball would stay out front for the next 6 circuits, but his lead evaporates right here. Ian Madsen, your new front runner in the 18 machine. That would be the last lead change of the night, too. Madsen goes on for his first career 360 win at the track and his second of the week. He also won Thursday in Fairmont, Minnesota. Sioux Falls native and defending 360 champ Clint Garner finished 5th on Saturday, but remains the overall leader by a wide margin. He's almost 400 points better than second place Matt Morrow. The 410s were up next, and 2 guys, Bronson Mason and Brian Brown, put on quite a show in this one. The 21 trying to chase down the 96, and he'd finally get him on lap 18. Mason, though, answers right back. He reclaims the lead less than a lap later. But they still weren't done. Brown rides the bottom to overtake Mason again. All this in a span of 2 laps. Brown, though, gets the last lap and the win, which is his second of the season.
Well, as we mentioned, Tim Koenig running awfully well, but does he have what it takes to sweep Badlands Sprint Championships? We'll get Rod Patterson's take on that and more in this week's edition of Hotlaps after this. Well, we've taken you through the highlights of last week's regional racing schedule. Now it's time to get a little extra insight on what we saw. And for that, we bring back Midco SN racing analyst Rod Patterson. Time for Hot Laps. You know the drill here, Rod. So let's get started. Red River Valley Speedway, as we talked about just a little bit earlier, reopened now after a 4-year break. We've seen a few tracks getting some new life here over the past few years. That's exciting. But let's face it, this isn't just any facility. There's a lot of history involved here. So with that in mind, how important is it that racing is back in West Fargo?
I think it's awesome. The Fargo-Moorhead area, that entire region, starved for racing. They had a great program going for a lot of years, closed for 4, now back open again. The place has a special place in my heart, too, because the World of Outlaws had their own radio network back in the day. And from 99 to 2002, I was blessed to be able to work for them. My first show was at Red River Valley Speedway. So it's exciting for me to see the place opening up again. I love the trend. I love the fact that racetracks are opening as opposed to closing. And it reminds me a lot of Rapid Speedway, Rock Rapids, Iowa, the way that people have gotten together, saw that they indeed want and need racing in that area, put it together again, and it's exciting. I think it's awesome.
Always exciting to see the green flag as opposed to the red flag, right? Well, one of the most important events for Dakota State Fair Speedway in Huron is what's known as the Challenge Cup. We showed you the highlights a little bit earlier in the show. It's also a big part of the opening weekend for the WISSOTA's Late Model Challenge Series. How does it stack up, though, this particular event, against some of the other major races that we see around the region?
I think it's great in that aspect, especially early in the season. You know, they start off with the Wheel Jam. It's a big car show along with concerts and just a great fan experience. Late Model Challenge Series Thursday, then they come back with a $10,000 to win late model show on Saturday. And for early in the season, this is a very, very good quality, top-notch driver special. And Orville Chenoweth has done a phenomenal job at that racetrack, not only putting this together, but a lot of different events at the racetrack, working with other tracks around the region like Aberdeen and Watertown and just the WISSOTA people in general. It's a great business model, and I wish more tracks would cooperate the way they do.
Okay, let's take a quick look now at a couple of individual drivers that have gotten off to some hot starts this season. As we just saw, Tim Koenig notched his second 360 victory of the season at Badlands Motor Speedway on Sunday. He's currently atop the leaderboard in that class, but he's also third in the 410 standings. He's got 3 top 5 finishes and as many races in that division. Now, I know it's early, very early, but is there a realistic chance for this guy to complete the sprint sweep at Badlands?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, indeed. Glenn Freeland is their crew chief now, and this is the second year that Tim Koenig's been running with the Lundstrom Motorsports squad. Glenn Freeland is a phenomenal, top-notch, quality crew chief. A lot of experience, a lot of miles up and down the road, a lot of success with a lot of different drivers. I think the Freeland deal, along with the Lundstrom Motorsports, Dave gives his team what they need to win, top-notch equipment, and he's got a real legitimate chance. He started off slow out in California, 3 features, did not qualify for 2 of them, 1 was the 13th. And the way he's going right now, 14 of his last 15 shows have been in the top 10, and he got into a difficulty with Brian Brown. He finished 13th there. In fact, his last 8 shows in the top 5, including a couple of wins and 3 runner-up finishes, he's got a real legitimate chance of winning both classes at Badlands Motor Speedway this year.
It'd be pretty exciting to see. I can't imagine it's happened a whole lot at that track or anywhere else. It's a big ask to anyone. Well, another guy that's running well right now is Brian Brown. Blackjack just padded his 410 lead at Knoxville on Saturday with his second win of the season. What are the odds he gets his third track championship down there?
Very good. He's got a couple of wins already this year, and out of the 7 races they've ran at Knoxville, he's been in the top 5 all 7 times. He's already got a couple of championships in 07 and in 2010. He's also got a 360 championship there. He is 9th on the all-time win list as far as 410s are concerned with 32. We also have 15 wins in the 360s. The other thing to keep in mind, in 2012, 2013, and 2014, he was a runner-up in the Nationals to a guy by the name of Donnie Schatz.
Yeah.
You may have heard of him.
Yeah, right.
He's only 36 years old, too. I mean, he's been racing forever, but he's at 36. I think the best of his career is still yet to come. I think he's got a real legitimate chance of a championship this year. And I'm not so sure he doesn't have a chance one day to be a Knoxville Nationals champion.
You got to think all these extra laps now are only going to serve him well later, coming up in August. All right, well, that's it. You're off the Hotlaps hot seat. Thanks, Rod. We'll see you back here next week.
Absolutely.
All right, well, stay tuned. We have officially reached the white flag. We'll wrap things up with a look at your Midco Motorsports calendar next. Here's a look at your Midco Motorsports calendar for the weekend ahead. Enjoy the races, everyone. We'll see you back here next Thursday night.